Ready to go?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's up? Welcome to a new episode of Movie Schmovie. This is episode number 462. My name is Steve, one of the co-hosts of the show, and as always, I'm joined by
Ron.
And for Mr. Gondo's sake, be bloodhounds.
Kingo Gondo. Great name.
It is,
I
really.
was watching this movie today, Ronald, and maybe you had a similar experience while watching it. I did watch the movie, and I commented to Nikki, this is the driest dialogue of any movie that we've ever done because there were absolutely no quotable lines. And right when I said that, the police chief turned to his guys and said, "For Mr. Gondo's sake, be bloodhounds." And I was like, okay, well, that was kind of a line.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah.
line I can quote. Um, but yeah, that's me, John. But let's get into it. Let's get into required viewing. I think we've got kind of maybe a little subtopic to branch off of that, since you're the only one of us who's seen the Spike Lee remake of this film. Why don't you take us into this choice? Tell us why you picked it, Ronald.
Sure. I chose the 1963 Akira Kurosawa movie High and Low, which is based on King's Ransom, the book. So it's an adaptation of that. It's a very interesting story. A man that is manager of a shoe company, his son is kidnapped, and
Or is it?
or is it? And as it turns out, it actually isn't his son that's been kidnapped. It's the son of his friend who's a little he's like it's interesting the way they portray him in this version versus highest to lowest. I guess we'll talk about that too. So he's like his assistant slash friend
Or
and
driver almost,
or
it
Oh,
seems.
yeah,
driver.
the
Yeah, yeah.
driver.
Yeah. So yeah, similar thing, but
Right, right.
yes. And so his son was kidnapped instead. And there was some urgency about it at first. And then when when it turns out that the his friend's son has been kidnapped, his driver's son's been kidnapped, uh, his morality changes a little bit about this whole thing. And this is a movie that tackles a bunch of things, class being one of them. And it's a really interesting movie. I'm glad that I chose it. Highest to Lowest was the remake that Spike Lee did that came out this year. Strange rollout in terms of the release, and because of it, I mean, maybe to give this a little more light, I decided, maybe we should highlight the source material that Spike Lee chose, and I wanted to choose this one because Kurosawa has a way of these sort of moving canvases. Like it's kind of hard to describe. Like it feels like every shot that he does is like set up for some sort of painting or something like that. These very statuesque poses of characters that I think is really cool, and this one is no exception. So um, I'm not gonna lie to you, I love this movie. I love this movie so much. Uh, I wish it were a little shorter. That's always my feedback about his movies. Maybe 2 hours versus 2 hours, 23 minutes. But man, the last 20 minutes, I gotta say, I'm glad I watched them.
So do you think maybe like this it's like sacrilege, right? For us to be
Mhm.
sitting here going, this Akira Kurosawa guy, he could have trimmed him down a little bit.
Trim that shit down.
But I do think
Somebody should
that
have reined him in.
yeah, someone should have told him, pipe down, Akira. No, I do think of that though as like a thing that maybe more so you feel with older movies is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like there's a pacing difference.
Yes, for
And I
sure.
think you just sometimes you have to accept that modern viewers are not used to this pace. But I
Yeah,
would argue that that's no excuse not to get into it. You know what I mean? Like I would say that you're kind of limiting yourself if you don't learn to accept and enjoy the
right.
rhythms
For
of
sure.
an older, I would just say an older, differently paced movie. This
Yeah.
happens to be like one of those older movies that feels like I mean, this is going to sound silly, but like, oh, so you see some old movies. We've talked about it on the show. I think we talked about it a little bit with the other Kurosawa film we saw, um, Hidden Fortress. But
Mm,
whenever we've watched an older movie, like we've always noticed there are things that feel more contemporary than you would expect.
yeah.
And I think he's one of those directors whose movies are just full of things that influenced the people who we think of as kind of defining the more contemporary style that we were
Yeah.
familiar with growing up. And so it's like you can see how people like Spielberg or Coppola or Scorsese or any of those guys were watching these movies and being inspired by just what you said, Ronald, the movement of the camera, the scope of the images. Sometimes even just like a tableau of a bunch of characters. Hey, I should throw one of my little images up.
Little backgrounds.
There you go. Ooh,
Yeah, I love
can't really
that.
see.
Love
You
that
can't really see.
shot.
I can get below the smoke. But yeah, there's all these beautifully set up shots that
Yeah.
just every time I would start to get a little bit like, oh, this movie's pace is kind of lulling me, almost hypnotizing me. I would be like, oh my God, look at this image, or also just how in this world you
Yeah.
are when
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
watching it. And I also think, I mean, I want to know who made procedurals like this before this, because
I
this
was
is such a
wondering.
procedural and it goes like on almost to a comical extent, that one scene with all the cops, which I loved, but like
Yes.
when you realize we're actually going to hear from every department,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, okay, Akira. No, but like it was a great scene because you got a little different slice of information from each like pair of guys.
Yeah.
And I think that scene did a few things. One is that it points out to us how sophisticated an investigation is and how
Yeah.
each little piece of information has to be acted on and tracked like by someone who can focus on it, but
Yeah.
also it really highlights how much help this rich guy is getting, you
Yes.
know and I think the class part of that, that you were talking about, like the movie kept reminding you of that, even when it was to the point where Gondo had made the selfless choice, when he has the choice to give up his future basically,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to save this kid.
Yeah.
He risks it, which makes him a non, whatever he was seeming to be at the beginning of the movie, this almost villainous character.
Yeah.
He's not that anymore. But then you realize the rest of the movie is about getting this guy's money back. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of interesting that the movie spends more time making you go, is this guy going to get his money back, than when we were worried about the little boy? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think that I don't know. To me, that's not a mark against it. That's a mark of what the movie's actually dealing with.
Sure.
Is what the class part and the high and low. That the name refers to that, as well as I mean a lot of things. I don't know. I so recently finished watching it that I'm still kind of processing the overall effect of it. But yeah, this is definitely a great movie, and kind of what you said, Ronald. You just feel like you're in the hands of a master when you're watching one of his movies. But I would be curious to know how many people after this said, "Oh, I'm going to do a procedural thing where we're going to see every
Right.
little step of an
Part of it.
investigation."
Yeah. I enjoyed the reporter scene. He tells him
Yeah.
that juicy piece of information.
Yeah,
He's like, yeah, yeah. So these two guys overdosed in the house. They're like, huh? You can't tell anybody though. He's
you
like, what
can't
if
tell
I want to
anybody.
tell somebody? He's like, what if I want to tell somebody? He's like, no, you can't because we need to do this in a way that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that scene
But
was
I like what he says is, but you can say it's our announcement. We're not asking you to lie.
right.
We're asking you to say that what we told you is this,
Yeah, yeah,
And then when they're like, oh, we can actually have all these articles slamming the company. He even says slam. There
yeah,
was so much slang in this movie that felt to me like it was so contemporary. Maybe my favorite moment, and really the only moment that I laughed out loud at the movie, is in that meeting of all the cops when Bosun stands up and he
yeah,
says, and he's asked him, did you go and meet with the partners or whatever?
yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I met with those guys. And he said, what a bunch of assholes.
Yeah. Yeah. God, man. It was really I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. What'd you think, Steve?
No, definitely. It's great. I mean, I'd never seen it before. Um, and you guys have basically already kind of got to this point, but like the idea of it being like a crime thriller at 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
I think the big thing that makes it work so well is it's kind of how the three acts are broken apart. Like you kind of have the moral dilemma of the ransom
Yeah.
figure it out in the first act, and then you have the procedural part, like with the detectives and everything, and then that last act with the train and everything. Like it's just the way that it breaks apart and comes together. I
Hmm.
thought was really it makes that time go quickly. I felt like it didn't really feel. I didn't personally feel 2.5 hours. Like I felt like there's enough there in terms of John's point, like seeing the higher levels of society, and and then
Yeah.
going and looking at these kidnappers and how they're living, or
Yeah.
what their motivations even are, just that kind of disparity. um it just reframes the whole story in a way, as they're kind of piecing it together. But yeah, I don't know, the performances were great, the train sequence is awesome, the ending of the movie is awesome, like legitimately awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's great. Like what is how old is this movie? Like 60 years old or
62 years old.
62
Yeah.
years old, and it's like great. Like there's
Yeah.
not there's no note. Like it's really great ending to a
Yeah.
movie. Um, and honestly, like there were like so many little subtle things. Like I would like to your point, John. I watched it like 2 days ago, but like even seeing little things like the luxuries of uh like air conditioning,
Yeah.
like weird little things that you see in the environments, like and how like hot and humid it was where the kidnappers lived, like the environmental things, not
Yeah.
even just like what you can afford or what your motivations are for whatever decisions you're doing for to get money or to get some means of, I don't know, anything in your life. But like there were so many visual differences, not just what they wore or how well groomed or how they looked, but like it was so comfortable and air conditioned, like
Yeah.
stupid little shit like that. And you're just like, that shit just really stands out in a movie like this. And you kind of see, uh, when what do you call it? Like you see how desperate the kidnapper
Yeah.
was. You know what I mean? Because of the situation and because of the resentment that I guess, well, clearly, like the resentment that he had uh, for his class or for where he was in society. I don't know. I just thought that stuff was great, honestly. And I didn't really know what to expect. I tried not to like read much on it, like, because I didn't know a ton about the movie except for I hear its name all the time, obviously, because of Kurosawa. But recently it had come up a bunch because I saw people reviewing it, just like we are, in light of the Spike Lee film that's coming out this week. But I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But definitely like a nice little watch before checking out the remake, reimagining,
You're imagining.
retelling. I don't
Well,
know.
you know what was striking me while watching it was, and I'm not, again, talk about sacrilegious. I was about to say sacrilegious, which I think is a word that Homer Simpson said
Or he says, "Oh, I
when
thought
he
it was forgiving."
skipped church and had a waffle that somehow ended up stuck to the ceiling and it fell down. And he says, sacrilegious. I'm having like fever dream memories of Simpsons references right now. No, but here's also sacrilege is to say though that when I was watching this movie, I was like, I can see why someone would want to remake this.
Yeah.
I can totally see why someone would say, okay, what if you did this with Denzel? And it's like, yes. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, it's almost like a Shakespearean thing in that sense of like, you could just, and I know you've said that there's a lot of difference there. But I mean, I can understand why someone like Spike Lee, the same impulse maybe that led him to remake Old Boy, is just this thing of
Yes.
like seeing these films and having this love for international cinema and saying like, I can maybe make this movie contemporary or relevant in a way. Now, whether that impulse always takes him in a good place creatively, that can be debated. I'm just saying I think it's interesting that Spike Lee, a lot of the greats have made remakes of things. And so to say I'm going to update this for now or I'm going to update this for my culture that,
Yeah,
my moment that I'm in, that's not like I think that's a slightly different category of remake than when we talk about all these remakes that are they're clogging things up because I think that's more like it harkens back to the tradition of this book has been adapted a couple times and some books had already been adapted 3 or 4 times by the time the version you've heard of them was made like so I think that part of it is interesting and I guess I'm not sure if I'm totally done. I'm sure there's a few other things about high and low to talk about, but I did want to ask you about highest to lowest. Like, just a few questions off the top. How faithful of an adaptation is it? And is there like a 1-to-1 ratio of events and characters from one film to the next, or does it feel like in any way it like competes with the first movie in that way, or does it feel like its own thing entirely?
It feels like its own thing entirely, but the bond that he has, the king, they call him the king in the movie, that Denzel has with Jeffrey Wright's character, who is the character who loses his son, gets his son taken. The bond they have is a little stronger. It's very
That's great
evident.
casting already. Even if it
Yeah.
was just like it was in this movie, those two actors would have made that
You could watch
Yeah.
them. There's at the
crazy.
beginning, they're just driving around talking to each other. And I could watch them, and they give a little weight to the character. He's like a man who was on like a street level guy basically gave up his street life and became Denzel's chauffeur. So
Yeah.
it has a little more weight to it when he loses his son. He's like, I gave up the street life for you. I did all this stuff. You know, please get my son back. Please, I don't know
Right.
what I would do. And he just lost his wife. Another thing they do is they kind of gutted the procedural out of it.
Really?
It exists, but it is not the majority of the movie like this is. You know how the basically the second half of this movie of
Yeah. Yeah.
highs and lows is the procedural. That's not quite as evident. Like, in fact, Denzel does some investigation himself. Like it becomes like, well, let me figure it out because
Mm.
I have some connection to the streets. Let me figure out who's this person calling me. Um, I think who they choose to be the person would be special is a cool thing, but I kind of wish they would have chosen a voice that we didn't know. It's ASAP Rocky's voice. So it's like, and I think Spike Lee just let him talk because he's calling him a bitch ass, a dumb fuck, a ugly shit piece of shit. He's calling him all kinds of things. I think Spike Lee just let him cook. Like he's like, hey, insult him the way you would if you stole his shit. So you know, the investigation part felt really special in the original, and it doesn't feel quite as special in this one. Also, the wife is a little weird in this one, in the new one. I kind of feel like because they
She
show
more
her
of a character because the wife wasn't in this one
she's more of
much.
a character. She's
Yeah.
like I'm trying to think of a very big person. She has like
Andre
a
the Giant.
yeah, she just has like this weight in a community. She contributes a lot of money, and that kind of creates the rift in the money situation. So the money disappears, but she gives like $250,000 to this organization that like helps kids in New York City. So it has a weight to it. It's like they've made it feel a little more like, okay, the money being lost, you realize how it affects all of this stuff. She doesn't seem very money hungry, but money is a part of their lives. Like they're philanthropists. He's like, I mean, I hate to use this comparison because we know Diddy a lot. P. Diddy, he's like a P. Diddy. He's like, at one point, folks who didn't know this, in the 90s into the 2000s, you could not go anywhere on TV and not see his face. And this is
Right.
what Denzel kind of represents, this cultural staple. And now that I've sat with the movie a little more, I did like it. I did like it. I thought it was solid. I just think that if you've seen the original and know the procedural exists, it feels really sad to not see a Spike Lee version of a procedural done his way, the way that
Yeah.
he's done things in the past. Like I think about the big tentpole movie he made, the robbery movie with Denzel, which was kind of a
Oh,
procedural.
Inside Man.
Inside Man.
That was good.
It was good. And it did
I love the
lack.
Inside Man.
Yes, it lacked that. Like it could have had the 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 story that we know from highs and lows, and then the Spike Lee style investigation, and it didn't have it. The investigation part felt a little like it didn't feel like it had its personal touch on it. So I don't know.
I just did a little bit of I wanted to do a little more research on the original. Um, and and so I found it a kind of interesting thing. But before we go back to the original, I did want to ask another question about the Spike Lee version.
Sure.
We already kind of addressed how much it may or may not have followed. Did it hit any of those like peak um like set pieces? Like was there a train scene that was similar to the train scene? Was there a big
Oh,
police meeting that was similar to that? Or did it seem like he wasn't trying to recreate the kind of pivotal scenes in this? Because there's a way to
there's
approach this story where you would just say, I can tell this story, but it wouldn't have to have any of the same markers of this movie. Was it
there's a
similar in that way?
huge train scene.
Was it
That's a
good?
huge. hmm. There's an issue I have with it, but it doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the movie. It has to do with okay. I'll give you an example. Um, that Scorsese Netflix movie. Um,
Um, yeah. Young Bob De Niro. What was it called?
yes,
The Irishman.
yes. So you may remember a scene where Robert De Niro is stomping someone out with the body of a 80-year-old man and the face of a 25-year-old. And they have this scene where Denzel's beating up a very young, agile ASAP Rocky, and it is not coming across very well
Mm.
in the film. It's not filmed very well. So even in the theater, people are like, I, and this theater was in for this movie, by the way. They loved it. They loved it top to bottom. They were like, come
High to
on.
low, you'd say?
Huh? Yeah, it was
No, I'm
that was a
messing.
high and then it got low.
Never mind.
I
Missed it.
Top to bottom, high and low. I don't
don't
know.
Yeah, no, I was
know.
with you, Steve. I
Tried.
was right there with you, left to right.
John was riding along
Yeah.
here.
Stem to stern.
Stem to
Um,
stern.
no, that's interesting. I'm trying to remember how credible Denzel's fight scenes were in Gladiator 2. I think they just kind of shot around it.
Yeah, I think the shadow of it.
He wasn't fighting like he wasn't fighting like a fight he could win physically, but he was vicious
He
or something. I don't know.
he doesn't
I
look
feel,
bad at Equalizer. But that was a while ago. It's funny. Like I think about these movies like they just happened when that could have been 4 or 5 years ago. At this point, Equalizer came out quite a while ago.
I've never seen him with more like obvious dyed hair than I've seen for this movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
You
And
got
really?
you get a lot of that.
I was like, is that a choice or is that like something we're not supposed to notice or what?
I don't know, man.
No one's telling Denzel anything about that
Yeah.
kind of shit. You know what I
Who's
mean?
gonna tell?
Who would?
He would.
I just said this on a show. I'm worried he's gonna not even come get me. He's just gonna look at me
Do you remember that
and
he
I'll
got
turn to
game?
ash.
You remember that he got game throat
Yeah.
chopped and he
Yeah.
just it's go- ah. Yeah, he throat chopped you, man.
I
Oh,
also saw Man on Fire. He might like stick dynamite up your ass
up
or
your
something like
ass
that.
and
Yeah.
let you die.
Yeah.
That was
But anyway,
crazy.
no, I'm curious about that. It sounds like he amped it up in a way. Like that train scene in the original is so you mentioned it, Steve, but it's like I love this it just feels so perfect that like there's no real interaction with the kidnapper. You know, like there's these other people involved that they find in the house, and that's a really creepy
Yeah.
scene.
Yes.
And it honestly it goes from we're worried about this guy's money for another hour to oh wow, this is a creepier thing than we thought. Like there's a even though they let the kid go, it doesn't mean that there's not people getting killed, you know. So like
Yeah.
that was creepy. Um, and I also think the focusing on the kidnapper was kind of an interesting thing, like cutting, like when we start following him a little bit
The
more. I,
glasses?
when when we realize his view that he has, like it's all just perfect.
Yeah.
But I like how the train scene pushes that confrontation off. Like you're able to have this kind of menacing figure, and he's just like a dude standing out in the middle of a field with like a sun hat. Like it's like there's no uh like they didn't try to make him look like a creepy guy. He's just a
Yeah.
dude standing out there, and he runs over and he gets the bags. But it's like something about that person who has taken advantage of you that you don't really come into contact with, but you see them right there, and they're like
Yeah.
50, 60 feet away. But then you're passing by. There's something so eerie about that I feel like the first movie really nailed with that train scene. And it
Yeah.
sounds like in this new one they've done a different kind of action fight thing
Yeah.
that That just doesn't feel like the same story. Like if once you have the guy, once you have the rich guy going out and actually doing the ass kicking, then that kind of changes the story.
Yeah.
One of the cool
Yeah.
things about the movie we just watched is how much there's like a team. I love those cops who I couldn't tell you their names, but I know their faces
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of the moments they're involved in. I really love that feel. That feels very something you would maybe have the guts to do in an older movie that nowadays they don't do as much.
yeah. There's two
Just
train
have like a
scenes.
cast of characters like that.
Yeah.
Oh, there are?
There's two train scenes. That there's one, the drop off point is very crazy. Like I think this could be up for like the drop off could be one of those things that they show in montages for like the rest of film. It's like one of those kind of scenes. It's filmed so well. That's why the part where Denzel confronts the guy feels a little weird because that's filmed almost like a Ocean's 11 sort of thing.
Hmm.
It feels very like whoever planned this is a fucking genius. Like it's very obvious to Denzel's character and everybody else that like whoever did this, whoever planned this out is a very smart person who is very familiar with New York. So that I think that's what makes me feel so weird about the second train scene that I'm referring to.
Okay.
Yeah. So the drop off is
Okay, see, because that was such a great scene in the original. It seems to me like if you were going to remake it,
mm,
that would be one of the scenes you would say, okay, we got to do this. We got to
yeah,
do
yeah.
justice to this part. And
I
then the
think
other
he
part I
yeah,
was going to say is, it seems like you'd have to do some version of the cops all in one room
yeah.
reporting their stuff. But you're saying they didn't really, they downplayed the procedural too.
And they downplayed the shit out of the it exists, but it
Yeah.
is so light in comparison to I love some of those scenes of all those people in the room and one person standing up and
Hmm.
saying something like, "Oh," that was cool as hell, man. It
Yeah.
also makes you realize like masculinity comes in all different forms, but the energy of it feels familiar. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this is a tough guy right here. This guy, Boston is one of those guys you'd meet here. You'd meet, any other
I loved
place.
Boston. He might have been my favorite just
Yeah.
because he was so. I really wanted to be like. I wanted to look into that actor's like. Is he like an Ernest Borgnine type character actor, or is he just somebody who was like delivering food one day? Kurosawa said, "You're going to be in this movie because you got a good
You
mug."
free?
And
Yeah,
and
you
I
free.
didn't know that one part right when he called the guys assholes. He kind of scratched his forehead with his middle finger like this.
Oh
And I was
man.
wondering, like, is that something that existed back then too? But either way, I feel like even the movie language of when he gets brought in, I mean, honestly, I could just enthuse about like that opening scene when everyone's in the apartment and like the cops are waking up the next morning and you just find out the detail that the two cops went out the night before drinking. You don't really need to know that, but Bosun and his like other guy, they went out the night before. And it's
Yeah,
like, I don't know, I just love that little character bit.
it was pretty
And also
cool.
that they kind of tease him about like not they didn't want him talking to the kid because he might scare him.
Yeah. I liked the scene when it was like he told him that he could see him from where they were.
Hmm.
And then the cops ducked out and tried to like sneak
Yeah,
around. Oh
they were
man, it
like
was
under on the floor under the table. Yeah, that was great. I should mention too the image behind me if you're doing the video, the pink smoke. I looked. That was the first use of color that Akira Kurosawa did in any of his movies. I
whoa.
hope I'm correct about that. If a film historian can call me wrong on that, but I think this was the first time he had used color in a film. Because I was
Wow.
wondering about that, like what was the choice made? Like I don't know how common was that at this time for someone to do something like
Mhm.
that, you know? But this you sort of forget that just because color came along, it doesn't mean that everybody was doing color films, you know? So
Right,
for a
right,
while there, it was like an artistic choice to say this film should be in color or a marketing choice maybe. But
right.
like we sort of forget nowadays that audiences are sometimes not as excited about a black and white film. You know, we sort of forget that that was an artistic choice before
Yeah.
that you could
Yeah.
decide to do it that way. But I thought it was a really cool use of color. I really was not expecting that at all. In fact, I was thinking about that. Were you at all when they mentioned pink? When he said there'll be pink smoke, I was
Yeah.
like, well, surely we're going to get either the pink smoke or the putrid smell, right? Um, but then when it happened, I was like, well, how are they going to do the pink? Like, I really thought, like, how
Yeah.
are they just going to say, look, it's pink, and we're going to not see pink? But the fact that he wanted it to be pink is kind of a cool. like an artistic choice that I don't know if Again, I know that he was a very art like sometimes a very dreamlike even director with his imagery and stuff, but I thought that was kind of later in his career. I didn't know that early on he was already kind of just playing with form like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
But I agree with you, Ronald. He's someone that I need to continue to educate myself. I've seen a few of his
Same, man.
movies, the ones that everyone has seen, and I think that he's made like 30 more than the ones I've seen.
Yes, yeah. I have to, man. He's such a presence. It's like every person that I love will be like, yeah. So my influences are Tarantino, Akira Kurosawa, and then I'm like, what? Wait, you said Akira again. I gotta figure out. It's interesting. So yeah, see the movie is what we're
Oh,
saying.
yeah, yeah, we liked this one.
Yeah, yeah. So who's next? Who has the next pick?
Me.
You know it. It's Steve.
Yeah, that's me. I am picking a recent release that I wanted to try to see when it had a really, really short theatrical run. I'd heard a lot of great things. This is a movie starring Taron Egerton. The movie's called She Rides Shotgun. This is like a crime thriller, basically, um, father-daughter kind of road trip,
Oh,
running from criminals, running from the law. He's not the best person himself, but she's basically marked for death, and he's trying to protect her. And I think it's an adaptation of a novel that I forget who did the novel, but yeah, it was popping up. It was in theaters for a few weeks, very limited release. But it came out on PVOD last week, I think. So I got it. I haven't watched it yet, but I'd love to watch it with you guys. So you can rent it. I think it was like $10. Um, Actually, no, I think it was $10 to buy it. What did I do? Anyway, she rides shotgun. Yeah, it was $14 to buy,
okay.
$10 to rent. But it got great reviews. It's gotten a lot, like a very high uh, Metacritic score, Rotten Tomatoes, popcorn, whatever you're looking at. And Taron Egerton's been doing some really interesting stuff. We started talking before we recorded today about his Apple TV series Smoke.
Mm.
He was in the Blackbird series on Apple TV. A little more, he's doing some like edgier roles. He had the Netflix kind of the big Carry On movie, which is one of their biggest films ever, which is crazy to say out loud. But I don't know. The trailer was great. It looks really good, and I love this whole like kind of on the run father-daughter thrillerness to it. But yeah, it's called She Rides Shotgun. It's on video on demand, Amazon Prime, wherever you get your digital rentals or purchases. It is available, and we'll check it out and talk about it next week.
Cool.
By the way, just a couple of quick notes. Um, the show Full Circle was adapted from the same source material, the Steven Soderbergh series.
Oh,
Really?
Was because I was
really?
thinking like high and low feels like one of those stories that almost like, oh, every 10 or 15 years there should be an update of this. Like you could almost do it for every era in a way.
Get out
Like
of here.
but like the show Full Circle was like based on the same material or based on King's Ransom or inspired by the Kurosawa film, or it was, I mean, didn't look extensively into it, but I was trying to see how many times King's Ransom had been adapted, and it said at least three.
The 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 limited what? I have to
Yeah.
watch this now. Now I have to watch. That's amazing.
Well, I mean, plus you got like Zazie Beetz and Timothy Oliphant and some other people.
Yeah.
Claire Danes. That's not a bad cast.
Holy moly guacamole. Yeah, I have to see this now. All
What
right.
was that on Mac? Was that on Max or?
Yeah, looks
Uh,
like
yeah, I think
I
so.
never watched that. I didn't know that that
neither.
was
For some
yeah,
reason,
that's
I thought
interesting.
you had watched it and told me it was good, Steve, but I might be confusing it with something else.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one.
Surely I'm not confusing you for someone else because there's no chance of that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, this looks good. Yeah, I would definitely check. Maybe I said I wanted to watch it. That's very likely. And just, forgot. But
Just the
yeah,
way life
anything
goes.
Oliphant, I'm in.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Have you guys been keeping up on Alien Earth?
No,
Not the
I'm
most
like,
recent. I haven't watched this
But
week's.
the most recent one doesn't have Oliphant in it, so it doesn't matter.
Spoiler alert.
Well,
Shit.
no, that's just
Now I'm out on this episode.
nothing bad happens
I'm
to
skipping
him.
this one.
It's it's the show gets has got don't you think the fifth episode in an 8 episode season is always like they do the little outlier episode that they always do that thing. All
Yeah.
these streaming shows do that where they get you all hot and bothered and then they break away from the main storyline to give you some little piece of something.
Yeah.
But no, I just want to say I think Timothy Oliphant is fantastic on Alien Earth, and I think that
So
like
good.
he's competing now for the long ago we did our favorite robots episode, and I
mm,
had Michael Fassbender's David as my favorite, one of my favorite
Yeah.
robots.
Yeah.
Timothy Olyphant is competing just because he's getting to do so much, like not much more necessarily, because we still haven't seen that much of him quantitatively, but like the way that he plays these little moments against Boy Cavalier, where you can just see him like he's just calculating and thinking, and he's doing that robot. He's on the show, Ronald. We have the cyborgs who are half human and half robot, and we have the androids or synthetics like Timothy Oliphant's character that are the ones we know from the old Alien movies that are just full on androids. And then we have the hybrids, which are human consciousnesses that have been ported in. And we have like a chief representative of each one of those camps that we really
mm.
have been following on the show. And Timothy Oliphant has kind of emerged as like this is this show's classic android.
Really?
And at times he's like, oh, he's the one who's going to get ripped in half any second because he keeps fucking with stuff. But he also seems like he might be the guy who, the way I always am hoping, maybe the smart, schemy guy is one of the people standing at the end. And
Yeah.
I could see him. And again, here's another thing. I have it's a total mystery to me because this show is both being talked about like it's a mini series, but also we know they want to go 4 or 5 seasons if they can. So I have no idea what piece of story, like I don't know what 8 episodes of this show is going to be. If it's going to be a complete loop where we go, all right, we just took care of all these characters, or if it's
Right.
going to end with like things like, for instance, Boy Cavalier, who's like a nearly Joffrey Baratheon level hissable kind of character.
Yeah.
It's like if this was a one and done thing, he's going to die horribly in this season. But if it's a multi-season show, you don't waste a character like that in the first season. You
Sure.
keep him going so that you can hate him more. So I don't know. It's that kind of thing, Ronald, where it's Noah Hawley. I love his stuff and trust him, but I'm definitely curious about like what is this? Is the end of this season going to leave almost nobody? That can hang around, or is it going to feel like a season one? But yeah,
Yeah.
Timothy Oliphant's character, that scene, Steve, with the sheep,
Oh my God, dude. So good.
so
That
good.
whole scene was amazing.
The whole scene.
All the way to the very
Yeah.
end. Oh my
Like
God.
everybody, the what comes out, the way like Timothy Oliphant when he's watching it and he's like got this respect for it, and then
Yeah.
Boy Cavalier is fascinated with it, but he's got no respect for it. I
At
don't know.
all.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
all.
And then the way that where he's like, you can look at the way he's looking at us, and it really does look intelligent. I don't know. They did a
Yeah.
great job
Something
of making.
switched.
Yeah. So
No, this
no.
show is incredible. Like it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I'm. We did that episode with the MCU Bleeding Edge podcast, and talked about the first episode, or the first 2 episodes. But we haven't really checked in on it in general. But yeah, this is like appointment viewings for me. Like I cannot wait to the new
Same.
episodes
Yeah.
of this drops. I was gonna watch it last night and just didn't have time, but um yeah, I just feel like all the casting is so good. Like the production value is insane, and obviously they spent a ton of money on this. But it's getting watched. I mean, it's getting good. It's getting watched. Like
Hmm.
like the ratings are high for this, and for the network. So that's really reassuring in general. But yeah, I mean, like week to week, literally, I'm just completely engrossed in watching this show. Like it's like turn everything off. I'm focused on it. I don't want to be distracted. I want to pick up every little thing, all the characters, every little thing that everyone Murrow's doing. Like that character's awesome. What
Yes.
he's doing, where I at least stopped with him, manipulating one of the Lost Boys is just like it's just wild. But I'm loving this show so much. So
Something I
much.
thought about, Steve, and this won't be a spoiler either, Ronald. The Noah Hawley does a great job with like on Fargo of like creating this sense in your mind of like, oh, these two characters are headed for a showdown, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes he gives you that showdown and sometimes he goes another way. I feel like
Mhm.
Morrow and Kirsch,
Yeah.
there could be a fantastic
So
showdown
good.
between those two guys. I don't
Could
know
be
if we'll get
amazing.
it, but it could be great. But yeah, the other thing, just to say, just it's interesting that Noah Hawley is the first person out of all the people that have taken a whack at expanding the Alien movies. And we've had some great directors and some really talented people. He's the
Mhm.
first guy that has said, "Let's add more aliens." Like he's the first guy who
Really
has like
cool.
That's
added
true.
like characters to the alien part and
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
really interesting, especially after the fifth one. I want to hear what you think, Steve, about some possibilities of what might be going on here, because there
Wow.
may be a story behind the story that we weren't even looking for. That if I don't know, Noah Hawley is such a clever storyteller. I could believe that what he's leading towards might be something that is like even more like epic sci-fi kind of stuff in a strange way. But he's already done
Right.
that. Like you said, he's already made something that fits in with these movies that are
Right.
all pretty every alien thing is pretty well made. You know, even Alien versus Predator, those movies, the first one at least is like well made schlock.
Yeah.
So it's like they've never tried to go too cheap with these things. Yeah, and yeah, you're right, Steve. This show looks great because they
Mm.
they basically spent way too much on it, but I'm fine
Too
because I love
much.
it.
I'm good with it. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I mean everything I've heard, and even listening to them in the first couple weeks of when they were doing the press for it, Oliphant, Chandler, Noah Hawley, like all the key leads, like everyone kept talking about the final like 3, 4 episodes of the season being like
Mm.
amazing.
Yeah,
Like, and like I think it was Timothy Oliphant and uh the main Wendy, her last name's it's Kyle Chandler's daughter. I can't remember her
yeah.
first name, Sydney maybe. Um, I think she had seen the last 2 episodes and Timothy Oliphant had not, and they were like going off about like how great it was, and he had like other cast members who had seen it. But yeah, I don't know. I just like that excitement around people explicitly saying that during interviews is encouraging to me because it's like that's pretty confident to say that when people are watching the first episode because you're betting on them riding all the way to the end when you say something like that and and,
Yeah,
and, and encouraging it as well. So yeah, I'm loving the show, no doubt.
me too.
I also wanted to throw, I mean, we're kind of go around the horn here, like what else we've been catching up on for the rest of the podcast. But I wanted to mention it last week because it came back. It's just, I feel like all we do is talk about Apple TV here, but and or Seth Rogen because I'm just obsessed with him and I love him.
Yeah,
But Platonic came, the second season of Platonic's out and has been airing over the last 4 to 5 weeks
yeah.
to little awareness or fanfare, and it's one of my favorite shows.
It's
Aaron
a
and I
good
watch it
show.
every week. Like
Yeah,
we're in love with it. We're in love with them together. I love them in Neighbors together. Them in this together is just as good, just in a different way, as just kind of like best friends who can't stop, getting in each other's ways or preventing one or the other from actually progressing in life. But I don't know.
As
Yeah,
best friends will do.
as they do. It's like sometimes you tell
Only
them
the
the hard
finest
truth.
people
You tell
will
them the
knock you
hard
off your
truth
path.
sometimes. You're not ready to hear it, and when they need to hear it, you kind of filter it out, unfortunately. And that's kind of what
Mhm.
they do in the timing's just bad, I guess is what I'll say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I love the first season. This season, I think is just as good, if not. There's some. I mean, the comedy in this season is dialed up. Like uh the Rose Byrne is just like I love her. She's hilarious. Like I think she's so underrated as an actress, period, but as a comedic actress, like she's hilarious, and she has a lot of great comedy sequences in this season so far. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I'm loving Platonic. I'm excited that it's back. I hope they just keep doing seasons of it. I don't know how long it'll last. I don't know who's watching it, but you never know with Apple TV. And Seth's got another great show on their platform that's probably going to be their big Emmys thing. So maybe that'll get them to goodwill for another season of Platonic because I don't know if people are watching it. Um,
He's great.
yeah,
yes.
He's one of those
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
And when you hear him in an interview or something, he's just so great. Like he's so present and so fun and so smart and so like self-effacing and yet we know he's like a fucking powerhouse. And I love how much that success of the studio feels like sort of cashing in all those chips of
Oh,
like
dude,
just what a
totally.
player he actually is. And I don't mean that to be like,
Absolutely.
I mean like just in terms of getting things made and you know developing projects that have a certain stature to them. Not that they've all just soared, but like we've talked about how like he doesn't phone it in and make ill-considered shit. And I do think he's evolved. And I just rewatched the studio because Nikki wanted to watch it, and man, it was so fun watching it. Like watching this, some of the episodes, it was the third time I'd seen him, but the last few episodes, it was this just the second. But I just thought, like the way that season went out on such a high and such a silly moment, but even in that 10 episode stretch, the way it showed such confidence in terms of being a show and
Yeah,
knowing how to leave you, knowing how to give all the like all the characters together doing something insane and idiotic that makes you
totally.
happy at the very end of the season is that's really skillful comedy television to me, is when you can do that, when you can have at the end where like every character has some moment you can think of that's like that was a fantastic comic moment. And the only people that were slightly underused, he actually comments on it at the end of the season when he comes to Tyler and Petra. He
Yep.
says, I don't say enough nice things about you
Got
guys. I
you.
got to work on that." And I'm like, that feels like Seth Rogen realizing, shit, you guys got to have more to do in season two. But no, just and then like Catherine O'Hara, who we know is a total comedy ninja, is like she's just so good and doing something that's different from other things she's done. So yeah, I do think Seth Rogen. I need to catch up on Platonic. I only watched the first couple of the first season. I really liked
Yeah.
it. I don't know why I didn't. But yeah, we could be the Apple TV Plus
I think we are.
podcast if we're
Yeah,
not
Yeah.
maybe
careful.
we should rebrand. Because I feel like top to bottom, it's just we keep going Apple TV Plus.
Well, I mean, when
Apple,
we did Marvel Schmarvel,
yeah.
that didn't work because we got tired of those shows pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, or at least we got tired of digging that deep into them that pretty
Yeah.
quickly. But with Apple TV Plus, we would go from stuff like The Studio to Platonic to Slow Horses to, whatever.
I know, man.
And so we wouldn't
Highest
be
to
every week
lowest, like
going,
it's just we
do
could
we
do
have enough to
whatever.
talk about? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
by the way,
it's
Ronald, when we need to get access to Slow Horses season five, we need to make sure we get that.
I thought they were just gonna give it. This
They
is
don't do it. You know,
he
in
takes
the
a
very
note, yeah.
beginning, they were really nice. They just let you see it all.
but but
But now they're stingy with it.
no.
Let's watch our words here.
Yeah,
What they've been
stingy
doing
because it's
is
such great stuff and they're
we're
we
about
guarding
can't
it.
to we're about to rebrand here.
we
We can't
can't
be
ask
talking
them
about like
anymore
that.
because they say it's already there. That's the last time they were like it's already there. You're gonna get it as it comes out. Don't ask anymore. It's basically what they said the last time,
All
which
right.
is strange.
So
But
as yet, we're still movie schmovie and not Apple schmapple. But Apple,
I'm
we
still
could
gonna
do
ask
this.
them.
We could do this. How weird would that be if we ended up full circle doing an Apple podcast
Oh
together?
my
That would
God,
feel
yeah.
a little
Back in
incestuous.
the fruit stand.
Yeah,
We'd be back
yeah.
to assuming positive intent and
Yes.
giving each other. We could call the
Permission
show
with three
Fearless
P's.
Feedback.
Yeah. But yeah, real quick, just on Rogan again, and even Evan Goldberg and Point Grey in general, they're pretty prolific. Like they're kind of like doing a ton,
Yeah.
and they're in the news, the trade news, like all the time. Like just
Yeah.
yesterday, reporting about Rogan and Point Grey being involved with like a Muppets kind of relaunch or rebrand, whatever. I don't know what it actually is, but I mean, if you kind of just run down like what's in play now, it's like The Boys, Platonic, The Studio, Invincible, Gen V. Not that's before you even get into like the movies that they've been doing, recently, and most of it's been TV recently. But
But
they
they
have
got the turtles.
I was gonna say literally, I was gonna say the
Oh.
Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, and the sequel coming out for that, and it's just like it's amazing. I love it, and I love everything. Honestly, like mostly everything that they've put out, I've at least really liked.
Mm.
And I can't wait. I'm signed up for anything that they put out, honestly. Like that's where I'm at. And I love, to your point, John, yeah, listening to him, how honest and just open he is about everything. It's just like he's just doing what he likes to do and he just talks about it like he would talk about it to a friend. Like he's just like very forward with it. And I don't know. I love Seth. I love Point Grey. I love Rose Byrne. Platonic is an
Yeah.
automatic for me. So definitely check it out if you haven't checked it out.
And I love his company Houseplant.
Our house plant, yeah, great.
I
Yeah.
love that shit. It's
Well,
like
I
whatever he does, I love. It's
well,
very
it's like
strange.
yeah,
He's doing the right things, yeah.
it's a bit overpriced, but I love that
I'll never buy it, but
that
go
feels
for
so
it.
legit that that's what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? That
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
like that feels like very true to himself. That he's like while he's doing all this other stuff that's like industry mover and shaker, he's also like, you know what? I want to make cool little pipes for people to smoke weed out of.
Yeah, yeah,
The nicest goddamn ashtray that you've ever seen.
yeah. Then furniture with ashtrays in. That's
Yeah,
so
that's what
freaking
I
cool.
mean. That little
Yeah.
like vintage thing.
Yeah, like with the
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
That's back when people were proud to be smoking, and in their house, you just come in, they'd have a nice ashtray. At any rate, yes. What else have we
What
been
else?
watching?
What else? What else?
Well, Ronald, you and I both saw the first. I was going to say the first season. Felt like the first season. No,
Oh
it felt like
no.
no. We watched the first episode of Task, the new
Yeah.
HBO series. Does it start this weekend? Is that why we were given
Yes,
access
this
to it? Okay.
Sunday, I think.
All right.
You
Sunday.
beat me to it.
So we haven't watched in advance because we got one episode, but I didn't have time to watch more
Yeah.
anyway. My first thought was this felt really naturalistic and cool, and I was getting into the vibe of it, and it had kind of a rhythm, but I don't know if I quite locked into it enough in the first episode to feel like I could sort of see what the challenges and the conflicts on the show are going to be. But outside of thinking, well, this is well acted and this is well shot and this is kind of interesting, I don't know that it quite like I didn't. I kept it. It's like it had me, but somehow I was. Maybe it's because I was trying to cram it in before doing a show with you guys. But like, I don't know if it had my full like narrative engrossment the way that, for instance, something like Mayor of Easttown did, or other similar HBO prestige cops and robbers type material. How did this work for you?
It's a lot going on, and there's a lot of world building that I could tell is going to pay off. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot of houses, foundations of houses being built in this first season. We're getting
First
uh
episode. See, he
first
thought it was a
episode.
season two.
Yeah, I was gonna say first season. We're getting
Oh no.
the task force that's being set up, the thing that's being investigated, which is
Yeah.
a series of drug dealers being robbed. And I think if I'm being completely honest, it reminded me of the Brian Tyree show, and that's why I was a little like,
Mm.
it was the same concept. They were like, let's rob drug dealers because drug dealers don't snitch. And this is kind of a similar sort of thing, I guess. The criminals started to get smart about that sort of thing after a while. This is tackled in a different way. It feels very small town.
Hmm.
Everybody knows each other. In fact, it affects the cliffhanger at the end of the episode. I mean, this is one of those things where whatever happens, these actions are going to reverberate in this community, and I kind of love that about it, which feels a little different than anything I've watched in it. It feels like the beginning of Mayor. It feels like in the same world of Mayor of Easttown. Is it Easttown?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
me,
like,
Harveystown.
yeah, it feels like it's in the same world, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling like too.
Yeah,
This is almost feels like a spin-off,
yeah,
like
yeah,
somewhere in the same world as that. And Mark Ruffalo's doing the same kind of shambling around, sort of gruff sort of guy,
yeah,
like
yeah.
slugging the vodka, and you know what I mean? Like he's definitely playing like when actors as three regular men, we must all notice when actors play one of those I stick my gut out parts. But it's Mark Ruffalo letting his gut hang out a little bit.
Yeah,
So it's like playing a regular dude, similar to the way that Kate Winslet was playing like a regular person in Mayor of Easttown. So in that sense, yeah. No, but I really liked the little setting up at the beginning when he was like it was at some kind of job fair or conference or something
yeah,
like
me
that. I
too,
mean,
me
little
too.
details like that. You're right, Ronald. What I'm kind of joking about being a sort of slow build, it really is world building. And if I'd thought of it that way, I might have said an episode worth of world building is fine, to say that's what you're going to get.
Yeah,
That's the positive way to say it. Otherwise, it really did feel like a story, like you said, so much going on that the main thread of the story, you kind of feel like it's going to happen this way, but it really is like that last scene where you go, oh,
yeah,
I see
yeah,
how there's the added wrinkle that is like this is not just when are they going to catch these guys, but
yeah.
now there's a fucking different story going on. Um,
Yes,
and
yes,
that
for
that is
sure.
interesting. And I think what's his name? Tom Pelphrey.
Love him.
He's great. He's
Love
great in this.
him.
I found when I was watching his performance, Ronald, I thought to myself, Steve's going to love this guy.
He's gonna love.
Did you really?
No,
Yes.
you're gonna
Are you
Steve. You're
serious?
gonna.
He's just good. He's just so good and natural and warm and it's all about that like making you love this guy who you're going to then be kind of worried about, because of what
Yeah.
he's involved
God,
in.
man.
But it's like I just feel like he's given the kind of performance that I know you
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
get
That's
kind of
awesome, man.
excited about. So if I might be wrong, you might be like, what the hell are you talking
No,
about?
I think
The
you
guy
know
lets
me.
his
You
beard
know
do
me,
all the
dude.
Yeah.
acting.
He
No, you
says
know
this.
me.
He has this line that I cannot get out of my head. They're in a car, and I guess they're on the way to do something, and he plays some music, and he's like, "This music is transportative." And he said,
Yeah,
transportative," and the guy's
I
like,
think so.
"Trans what?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "It feels like you're out of your body." And then he painted the scenario that made me get kind of like
Yeah.
emotional. I don't know what it was like. It's like this thing like, oh, you know what this did that Mayor of Easttown didn't do for me? And Mayor of Easttown did a lot for me. Don't get me wrong. This made me feel like everybody is a human being trying to feed their families and have fun. Enjoy their lives. There's like something about this pursuit of that. Even if you're a criminal, if you're a cop, it doesn't matter who you are. There's this pursuit of happiness, and
Hmm.
he's one of those guys in this that's kind of like kind of a breakaway character for me. It's
Hmm.
it's like Mark Ruffalo's in the story, and I care more about this man that's
Right,
like
right.
it's interesting because he's on the wrong side of the law, but is he? Is
Well, when
he?
he's like laughing, like what's his name? Raul Castillo? Is that the other guy's
Yeah,
Yeah,
name?
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Who plays Cliff Howard, I think. And then when he suggests he's like, you should go on these dating services. And he's like, but they pull up your whole history. And he says, use a fake name like Myth Boward
Yeah, he's like, who's Myth Bauer?
or whatever he says.
Like,
But it's like,
he's like,
then
who
they
is Myth
laugh
Bauer?
about it. But it's like, that's the kind of moment you're talking about, Ron. It's like, these guys are actually having like, and that you're right. It is the thing that makes it feel a little different starting up is that we are like going, why am I following this guy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you go, I mean, you kind of know if you know the rough edges of the story you're watching, you kind of know that you're watching these are the guys on the other side of the law. But
Hmm.
like you are kind of introduced to them more through guys like they're planning shit, but what you get from those scenes is more that they're goofing off and having fun and like having lunch together or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
and he comes to his house and you get a sense of like their friendship before you really get a sense of what it is they're doing.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think I mean, as I'm talking through this, I'm realizing how important that might be to the whole structure of the show. And like you said, Ronald, it is different than to say we're going to feel this warmly towards the bad guys in this type of story, the quote unquote bad guys. But it does feel a little different from Mayor of Easttown, where you really did feel like, well, there's like bad people, and then there's these flawed people that are trying to figure things out.
Yeah, it's like a thing where your principles as a good person can sometimes be your chains. It's like the scene where Mark Ruffalo uh refuses to see a person.
Hmm.
On the other side of the law, that person wouldn't have had a problem seeing that person. Because the
Right.
morality of it isn't that hard for you to understand. Regardless of what
Hmm.
it is, somebody just had a rough go or it made a mistake, or if you're on that side of the law, you're never the worst part of the situation. It's always who caught you. Or
Hmm.
it's just like it's
Right,
I
right.
think that's so cool, man. Like it's a perspective that The Wire showed us.
Totally.
And you don't see it very much in this sort of dynamic. And that's what I kind of took away from it. But in all that, like you may get a little overwhelmed with literally how many things is going on at the same time. Steve, there's a lot of stuff happening at once, a lot of fires being burned.
Mm.
That might be a little like, I don't know how I feel about this first episode, but it still feels like it's that last 5 minutes to me did it for me.
And that's a
Uh,
very HBO thing to do,
it
right? To
is,
have like
man.
this fantastic sort of turn of events at the end of the first
Yeah.
episode that makes you realize, oh, that's what the story is.
Yeah.
I also thought Martha Plimpton was really good in her one scene with Mark
Yeah.
Ruffalo. And it's like I kept
Yes.
thinking like sometimes I love to see it and sometimes it makes me sad to see it, but people, actors that I was watching when I was a kid, and now seeing the
Yeah.
kind of middle-aged roles that they're taking on. But every now and then
Yeah.
somebody gets put in a good spot, and I feel like it seems like if this is going to be her role in the season,
Yeah.
that's a good place for her to be. Is the kind of like the sort of boss behind the desk kind of
Yeah.
feeling.
She
So.
looked great though. She looked great.
Oh no, she's great. No, I'm not saying about anybody looking bad. I'm just talking about when you look and you realize this is the type of part they're playing now.
Yeah.
They're
So much
playing
time
somebody's
spent.
dad, or they're playing somebody's boss, or they're playing
Yeah.
somebody. It's a different phase of your career. And I always think for actors, they must sometimes, if they're really self-actualized, they probably are like, "Oh, cool, I get to do." I get to do father figure roles now. I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
to do
yeah.
mentor roles now. But if you're really vain about it, you're probably like, well, shit, I don't. I want to play the hero. I don't want to play the hero's father-in-law.
If I'm
But
being honest, Josh Brolin is that for me.
yeah,
He'll always be the kid from Goonies. And every time I see him, I'm like, how did
how
how
did
did
he
I
become?
watch this?
How did he become such a chin?
Yeah, how did I watch him as a kid and he became I thought we were the same age. Like if I watch Goonies, I was like, he's only a couple years older than me. Like it's
Yeah.
2 years older than me. And see him now, it's like, oh, he's a little older than I thought.
Well, it was in Planet Terror when the first time I saw him, and I was like, somehow he's the most adult man I've ever seen in a
Yes,
movie, and I don't know how it is.
yes.
And it's something he was doing in that movie, but since then he's just seemed like that to me. Like, man, that guy is a fucking adult.
He's a kid of a famous person, and he still feels like he's been through more shit than any person I've ever spoken to. He's like lived the roughest life. It's strange.
Yeah,
Josh Brolin is an enigma to me, man.
yeah.
Yes. Has Josh Brolin and the Punisher guy
Oh my
ever did
God, if he and John Bernthal were in a scene
the
together,
roughest movie ever created? It would be the most violent movie.
they wouldn't even have to throw a punch. They just have to show their faces to each
No.
other. Um, but yeah, no, I'm definitely in to watch more of this show. But
Yeah.
it wasn't like this massive, like, oh, I'm just gobbling this up, feast for the eyes type experience. It was kind of what you're talking about, Ronald. I was like, it's like walking through the dark and trying to figure out how this is all going to fit. But I do think it's well made, and as I'll get out, and I do think that like that last scene is an indication of the kind of thing that it's very gripping. And I guess this is a mini series, right? This is not being set up as a new show, or I don't know, but it feels like a story that might
Right.
be, one and done. And I think that always adds tension to a show like this because you're not thinking, oh, here's our cast of regulars. You're thinking anyone could, anyone except for Mark Ruffalo and Tom Pelphrey probably could go at any time. So
I wish we got more episodes. I don't mean to complain, but
it
I
would be
want,
one where it would help to see a second and a third one, like to invest a little bit more,
yeah,
because
yeah,
you're right. It's at the very end that you're most engaged, but
yeah,
but it's out on Sunday,
yeah.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
Cool.
Sunday.
What else has anyone watched?
Um,
Not much this week for me.
yeah, I don't think.
I watched the first episode of The Paper, the Office spinoff, just because I thought, well, I'll watch that so I can have an opinion about it.
How was it?
I liked it. I At the end of the first episode, I was like, I think this is a smart way to do it. I mean, it's enough of a repeat and enough of a here's how we're relating to the original show, but it's like you already see how they can kind of do a little bit more, a little bit different, a little bit something else. Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I giggled at a few things. It got me going a couple times. The characters are kind of likable. Donald Gleason is great in it. I don't know. I did not feel that it was. I've seen people saying what I basically think is true, but I also don't think this is too harsh of a thing to say. Which is, it does kind of, I've only seen one episode. If I feel this way after watching the whole season, that's maybe an issue. But after one episode, I felt like, oh, this feels like a smart way to tap back into that vibe, that style. And it feels like characters that are different enough and the actors that are having fun enough. But like there's something about it that just has a little bit of a life to it that does feel durable. Like I could see this being the setup for, a few seasons of a sitcom.
Hmm.
If it's a little in love with itself and a little cutesy, it's really only a little bit that you could say that. There's actually, yeah, I don't know. If you see it, you'll know what I mean. Like they're doing things that are repeats of the structure of the original show, but in this case, like just for instance, this newspaper had a documentary made about it in the '70s as well. And so we occasionally see moments from that intercut into
Oh,
this.
cool.
And it's just like therefore it's expanding that idea of when a doc is put together, the way it pulls from footage from different things. That's already adding an element that the original Office show never had of like,
Mm.
cutting to other archival footage or anything like that. And that's just a small difference, but that's an indication of like, even from the start, this one feels like they're involving the idea that this is a documentary crew more. They're making reference to like who has signed releases and stuff like that. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like it does feel like a slightly evolved version of the basic concept of The Office. And again, if you like the cast or if you like this kind of comedy, I don't know. I would hope it gets like more laugh out loud funny as it rolls along. But for the first episode, it's trying to set up like 12 characters and it's trying to say, hey, remember The Office? And then also
Yeah.
say, hey, but we're not The Office, but we are. It's like
Right,
it
right.
really is kind of a new season of The Office about a different place, as
Oh,
Yeah.
opposed to like a show that tries to reinvent the whole thing. And it's a fair bet because people love that show, right? And it's like one of the most streamed shows of all time and most rewatched shows of all time. So I don't blame them for trying to get like, hey, people liked this, didn't they? Can we do more of
right,
this?
right.
Um, so
Wow.
no, I liked it. But I mean, I say that in a nice way. Like, I liked it. Not like I didn't love it, I just liked
Oh,
it.
oh boy.
Oh boy, fellas, you gotta see the paper.
All right, man. Well, that sounds good. That sounds like an episode.
Yeah, that's our shoe.
That's our show. Movieshmovie.com is the website. You can go there to listen to every episode we've ever released, or you can subscribe to a platform of your choice if you want the audio experience. You can also go to youtube.com/movie podcast and do a lot of the same, really. You can listen to every episode, the audio only. You can watch the episodes there in their full entirety, or you can watch the little shorts, the little snips, the snaps for a little taste of what Schmovie's got to offer. If you go to the YouTube route, please subscribe. Please hit the bell so you get notifications when everything drops on that side of the channels, and we'd really appreciate that. If you watch something there, listen to something there, engage it all there. Feel free to comment. Feel free to leave us some feedback. We'd love to see any and all engagement that you'd be willing to offer.
And weigh in on something. Ronald's been putting out those snips and snaps.
Hmm.
I've been suggesting he should put in some scoops and snoops.
Scoops and Snoops.
Ah, right, 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 right.
But I'd love for fans to weigh in on that to let us know.
You have a voice, use it. You
Yeah.
know?
Something important.
Yes, put it where it matters.
Make a
Uh,
difference.
as a reminder, my pick for the required viewing for next week is She Rides Shotgun. It's a 2025 thriller. It's available on video on demand right now. I said earlier, $10 to rent on Amazon, $15 to buy. We'll talk about it next week. That's all we got for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, you made our day. Thanks.
Bye.